Hey guys, what's up? It's Charlie here, and today we're going to be looking at 10 hilarious people who failed at life. So we all have our good moments where we look awesome and our bad moments when we fail. Well, these are 10 people who failed hard, and unfortunately their fails were caught on camera. Get ready to laugh and also kind of sympathize with these hilarious people. But before you laugh too hard, be sure to subscribe and press the notification bell too. Coming in at number 10 is painter. So painting can be a messy job. However, one day a guy in the UK was doing a pretty good job at painting a roof. He just finished painting the entire thing green, but that was when he realized his big mistake. He'd literally painted around himself. As you can see, he hadn't planned it very well and simply left a tiny area where he was standing. This means he's either going to have to walk in the wet paint and mess up his work, or he's going to have to wait for hours for the paint to dry in that one spot. The guy sure does look lost, and I would too if I realized I failed that bad. If I was the guy taking the photo, I wouldn't just be gawking outside of a window, I'd throw a rope and try and get this guy out of there. But even so, this is one pretty funny image. Next up is USB. Have you ever dropped something and it's just disappeared and you've never been able to find it again? This happens to me all the time with small candies. Well, if this happens to you, then don't worry, there's not a black hole underneath your couch. Instead, it's likely stuck somewhere odd, just like in this guy's case. He'd lost his iPhone earphone adapter. Ha, that's what you get for buying one of those. But seriously, he'd lost it and thought it had disappeared into thin air. He spent hours every day of an entire week looking for it. That was until one day he realized something was on the bottom of his Timberland shoes. Well, underneath his fresh pair of Timbs was his adapter. It was now pretty messed up seeing as he'd been wearing the shoes all week. But hey, at least he found it. It's pretty crazy how the adapter is a perfect fit to the shoe's base. You never know, maybe Apple and Timberland teamed up to get you to buy more adapters. But this isn't a Shane Dawson video, so who knows. Next up is eye cake. So this is another massive fail involving a phone. People always say that kids nowadays are very distracted by their phones. Now you may think this is just a bunch of boring old people saying this, but maybe they have a point. One girl was baking a cake and she didn't realize she dropped her phone into the cake. And I'm not just talking about dropping it into the uncooked cake, she actually baked the cake with the phone still inside. She realized when the cake was about halfway baked, but the phone was pretty messed up by that point. I'm not sure if her phone had to eat its way out of the cake or if she cut it out. But when she finally retrieved her phone, there was cake all over it. That's right, it had literally been baked into the plastic. And not only that, her phone wouldn't work and simply showed a temperature warning. Some phones get that on a hot day, so it's bound to happen when you put it in an oven. This has got to be the biggest fail and one of the dumbest tweets of all time. Quick, somebody tell most amazing top 10! Next up is bubblegum. So do you remember having bubblegum when you were a kid? I'm sure you used to have a lot of fun blowing or trying to blow bubbles. In my case, I could never do it that good, but some people could do it pretty big. But I can almost guarantee they didn't come anywhere close to this guy. One day a guy blew a massive bubble with his bubblegum. Now you may think that's impressive, but that's not the only photo of this event. You see, right after the photo was taken, his bubble popped. Now this wouldn't be a big deal with regular bubblegum, but in his case it caused chaos. As you can see, he's literally coated in bubblegum. Yeah, something tells me he's gonna have to buy a new shirt. And maybe a new face too, seeing as he's totally trapped under there. He transformed from a regular guy to Zoidberg. But do you think this is a fail or a win? In my opinion, it started as a win, but ended in a big gummy fail. Next up is boxed. Don't you just hate bad drivers? They can really get in your way and mess up your journey. Well, the only thing worse than a bad driver is a bad parker. One day in China, a bus tried to park up. However, one person parked their car in a bus lane and took up 2 spaces. So, with the bus driver being left with nowhere to park and also anger for the guy who messed up his parking, he decided to get revenge. So he boxed in the car that malparked. The funny thing is, the only bus that can solve this problem is the guy who caused it. None of the other buses can move anywhere, so this guy's totally trapped in. This just goes to show, guys, make sure your parking is always on point. Or at the very least, don't take up 2 bus spaces. Next up is stuck. As a kid, I'm sure you've been stuck somewhere before. However, you likely got out pretty quickly. Well, in this photo, also taken in China, a kid was not so lucky. He somehow got stuck in a window cover. I'm not sure how this happened, but kids do have a tendency for getting stuck. Now, the kid does not look happy, but his dad really doesn't seem to mind. In fact, he seems to be having a pretty good time. And so do the firemen. I suppose this beats risking your life in a burning building. I'm not sure how this kid got stuck in there, but he seems like a Chinese Ralph Wiggum. Next up is SUDS to be you. So when you were a kid, did you ever try the trick when your parents ask you to do a chore so you purposely do it badly so they never ask again? Well, it seems like somebody might have done that in this photo. One guy was walking by a house in his neighborhood in Florida when he noticed something odd. There was tons of soapy water spilling out of a house. But this wasn't a David Dobrik prank video. Instead, somebody put way too much soap into their washing machine. I'm not sure if this was on purpose or by accident, but it caused their house to flood with soap. Now, this is pretty hilarious from the outside, but just imagine how long it took to clean this up. Haha. We all know that using too much soap when washing dishes can be a big deal, so imagine this. But I can't lie, if I was a kid at this house, I would be having a whole lot of fun. Unless I caused this mess, in which case I'd probably be grounded. Next up, we have escalator. So, do you remember as a kid your parents always telling you to be careful on escalators? It's very easy to get trapped and some people even lose their lives to escalators. Well, one girl in Asia obviously didn't listen to her parents. That is because she got her cardigan stuck in an escalator. Luckily, her friends were able to press the emergency stop button, but she was still stuck in there. Now, from what I can see, it seems like she'd just be able to slip out of her clothing, but I guess not. Either way, this girl seriously needs to take a good look at herself. And seeing as she's stuck in front of reflective glass, she can do that pretty easily. Next up is made in China. So we all know that many products, even luxury ones, are made in China, but another thing China is known for is fakes. Well, this photo is a prime example of why you never buy anything when somebody approaches you on a street in China. One day on a Chinese street, an American tourist was approached by a Chinese guy. He said he was selling iPhones for half the price, so the American guy couldn't resist. He bought one, but when he turned the corner, he realized he'd been ripped off. Not only was it not an iPhone he bought, it wasn't even a phone. As you can see, it's simply a magnet with a fake front to the phone. There's no computer system or technology at all to this. But you can't lie, that does look pretty convincing, so this scammer is definitely not failing at life. Next up is the proposal. So this has got to be the most awkward photo you're going to see all day. We all know that the quintessential proposal happens at night under the Eiffel Tower. So one night in Paris with his girlfriend, the guy bent down and the girl started freaking out. Because the guy bent down on one knee, she assumed he was about to propose. However, it turns out he was just tying up his shoes. Now this girl must have been very embarrassed and even kind of saddened by this. But hey, at least this guy doesn't have to worry about popping the big question, as he knows it will be a yes now. But I don't know who's failing more in this photo, the girl for not realizing what's going on or the guy for not realizing how misleading he's being. Check out the poll in the top right corner to vote for the funniest photo on this list. And be sure to check out my second channel for more amazing videos. I upload every other day on that channel and there'll be a link on screen in a moment, so check it out. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what you're waiting for, subscribe to Top 10s.